Good morning. Did you call me sir?
It's called respect.
I don't work for a living. Okay. Anyway. Oftentimes in our modern world, we like to think of the ways that things have changed and how, we've done away with old ways and we've modernized and we've become more sophisticated and more enlightened. That's what the Enlightenment was about. And it's wrong because things don't really change. Things are the way they are. And in the gospel, Jesus is saying, don't think that I've come to abolish the law. I haven't come to say, hey, you're free to do whatever you want now. I've come to fulfill the law. And kind of in our modern world, especially in the church, we live in this time where we think, well, all these things have been abolished, right? Back in the 1960s, a bunch of Italians got together for a few years at the Vatican, and they changed everything, right? The altars turned around, and the language changed to English, and all the morality laws got tossed out the window as well, right? But wrong, that's not what happened. But the Vatican Council, the bishops of the world got together and kind of tried to refresh. They said, open the windows and let fresh air in, was the word that they used in Italian. But it wasn't to do away with anything. It wasn't to get rid of our traditions. It wasn't to get rid of our moral teachings. It wasn't to get rid of our practices. It wasn't to modernize the faith. Because the faith can't really be modernized. Jesus came, and here he is talking to the Jewish people, and they've been around for thousands of years, and they've got their moral tradition and their law. And Jesus comes in, he says, I haven't come to abolish your law. I haven't come to, just because you see me, eating on the Sabbath, you see me curing people on the Sabbath, I haven't come to abolish the law. I've come to fulfill it, to make us understand what it is that we do. And I think a lot of times in religious practice, we don't understand what it is that we do. Why do we bless ourselves when we come into the church with holy water? Why do we genuflect? Why do we bow at certain times? Why do we kneel? Why do we stand and sit? Because it's just what we do. We don't understand. Jesus is coming and saying, I want you to better understand what the law is. I want you to better understand what it is that we do. And then he goes on and he says, whoever breaks one of the least of the commandments and teaches others to do so will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. For decades, we've had people, priests, bishops even, saying, oh, no, don't do that, right? You want to use contraception? Well, as long as your conscience says it's okay, that's all that really matters. There's a cardinal right now in the United States that is saying that very thing. He's saying, oh, well, no, the centuries of church teachings on morality, really we have to understand that conscience is central. And as long as your conscience says you can do something, you can do it. Okay, well, my conscience says I can go rob a bank. Does that mean I can rob a bank? No. If I go rob a bank, I'm probably going to get arrested. I'm probably going to go to jail. I probably wouldn't be very good at robbing a bank anyway. The church in Germany right now is falling apart. The bishops there are having this synod thing, which is confusing because the whole church is having a synod on synodality, which sounds like something out of Seinfeld, the show about nothing. But there's confusion, and there's this moral misteaching. The church in Germany is saying, we're going to bless same-sex unions, and we're going to allow divorced and remarried to receive Holy Communion, and we're going to do all the things. We're going to make the church look more like the world. We're going to make the church look more like the world. When did Jesus say that? When did Jesus come and say, all right, here I am. I want you guys to conform yourselves more to the world so that people will accept you? Rather, he said, reject the world. Reject the ways of this world. Deny yourself. Take up your cross daily. Follow me. Come after me. We live in a time of confusion. We don't need more confusion. We don't need the church telling us that it's okay to sin. We don't need the church telling us that it's okay to do things that are contrary to the way that everybody thought up until 10 minutes ago. We need the church to be clear. We need the church to teach us. We need the church to guide us. We need the church to lead us like a loving mother. The loving mother says, don't touch the stovetop. It's hot. You'll hurt yourself. The moral teachings of the church are the same. Don't do that. You'll hurt yourself. Not only will you hurt yourself, you'll hurt others around you. Sometimes it's difficult to hear that, especially when we've lived in a time of kind of moral laxity where it's just been do what you want, and the church is like, it's okay. And then you get these young priests, right? And we were born in the 80s, and what do we know, right? Like, come on, Father McGillicuddy told me that it was perfectly okay that I did this or that back in the 70s. What do these young bucks know? I don't know. I don't know if I know more than Father McGillicuddy or not, but what I do know is what the church teaches. What I do know is that we can't change it. What I do know is that we can't have our preferences. Oftentimes we do that. I prefer this. I prefer that. There's places where preference is okay. There's places where preference is fine. But in the teachings of the church, we can't say, well, I'd rather this. Okay, we'll go to a Protestant church where you can make up and do whatever you want, right? Go to the Episcopalians. It's pretty. It looks like Mass. They still say, and also with you. They follow our lectionary, basically. The nice women dress up as priests and look, have nicer vestments a lot of times. And they teach nothing. It's great. But if we want to be faithful to Christ, if we want to be faithful to the church that he founded, then we need to listen to him. We need to follow him. We need to not try to change him. We need to not try to make him fit into a box. But rather we have to ask ourselves, what do I need to do to be more like Christ? What do I need to do to become more like him? What do I need to do to be a better member of the body of Christ? I haven't come to change the law, to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Whoever obeys and teaches these commandments will be called the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Obey and teach. It's not enough to just obey, but to teach it as well. It's not my job to teach it. You're here at daily Mass. You don't have to be. It's your job to teach it, to go into the world. It is my job to teach it, but it's your job to kind of co-teach it, to go out into the world and to proclaim the truth. Because I can go out in the world and proclaim the truth on the street corner, and people are like, there is the crazy priest saying that, things are true and that squares are squares and circles are circles and that you can't change that, but, they're old-fashioned. But for the faithful to be able to go into the world and to live it in the workplace, in the public square, to be able to live your faith authentically. This is truth. Jesus gave me this truth because he himself is truth, and truth cannot change. It's our job to go out into the world to live our faith in a way that allows others to recognize Christ, that allows others, like we heard this past Sunday, the woman at the well, right, to recognize, I need to change. What I'm looking for isn't found in the world. That thirst that I have can only be quenched by Jesus Christ. And so let us be ministers of quenching that thirst. Let us be able to go into the world that is so thirsty for the truth, that is so thirsty for reality, but is so devoid of reality. Let us go into the world and make present the truth that is Jesus Christ.